was the sweetest kid ever. I went on a trip one time with my church, and I didn't know the kids who were going to be on the trip that well. And so I wrote every single person a letter, introducing myself, talking a little bit about what I like, asking them questions. And when I got there that morning, I gave every single person a letter, and it like totally broke the ice, and I became friends with everybody. I was such a sweetheart, and yet I still went to prison. Always been so terrified of getting in trouble. My friends would want to go sneak out of the house, and when it came time to sneak out of the house, I was the one who was like, guys, go without me. Like, I'll just stay here and hold the fort down and cover for you, you know. Like, I never wanted to go. And before we would leave, I would always write a letter to my friend's parents and say, hey, we just decided to go for a walk because we couldn't sleep, we'll be back soon. Which is so dumb, but like, I didn't want them worrying about us. What happened was that I started smoking weed when I was like 15 or 16, and I started drinking a little bit, just like normal, like how kids do. But for me, it affected me differently than it affected other people. Like, I didn't know it was gonna do me like that. And like, what happened was, like, when I drank, I just felt like on top of the world. Like, I love to catch a buzz, and like, it became in my mind kind of like that thing I just wanted to do all the time. Like, I want to catch a buzz. And like, most of my friends could take it or leave it, you know, like, they weren't obsessing over it. But I was like, once I discovered it, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to drink. I just want to drink tonight. And I just drank alcoholically. And like, I would throw up, and it would be disgusting, and I'd be a sloppy drunk, and I'd do stupid things. But like, I never got hangovers. I always woke up feeling fine the next day and like ready to go again. And like, as time progressed, other things came into my life. Like, cocaine came into my life, and I was like, oh, this is nice too. I started using other things, and like, then it was like the height of the opiate epidemic, and so I started using like prescription pain pills for fun, and I got completely addicted to them. Like, they took over my life. And like, I was still sweet though. It was kind of messy, but like, I was still like super considerate, and I would like save animals. Like, I would go out of my way just to be a good person. And I just love people. I've always like loved people, and I've always loved kids. My addiction got really, really bad. There was this lady, I was shooting heroin at this point, and there was this lady, and she had a daughter who was like 12, 11 or 12 years old. I want to say her name was Summer. I don't know where that came from. It just like arrived in my head. I would like go over to her house to score pills, but I would go, instead of like sitting in the living room with everyone, I would go hang out with her daughter, and like, we would jump rope, and she would just talk to me, and like, I just spent like quality time with her because I adored her, and she adored me, you know. Like, that was just always been like who I was. And I did, like, as time went on, I became more self-centered, and it was just all about like, I've got to find a way to get pills today, like, I've got to find a way to get heroin today, or I'm gonna die. And it got really bad, and that's ultimately what happened. That's how I went to prison. Is I committed a crime. I was with a man. He was really abusive. He and I and his brother set a man up to get robbed, and I got charged with armed robbery because we took his money, and I went to prison. And when I got to prison, I was separated from all the drugs and alcohol for the first time in like 10 years. And what happened in me is like, it was like all of a sudden I remembered again who I was in a way. You know, I was like, oh my God, what kind of person does these things? Like, where have I been? No wonder people are so freaking worried about me. Like, no wonder I'm in prison. Like, it makes sense for me to be here. And I decided to like get my life straight, like, no matter what. It was just, alcohol was gone. It had to be a thing of the past. The drugs, the cocaine, the marijuana, like everything, even like the sex, because I was always like kind of promiscuous and like flirty. I said, even that, like everything, anything having to do with the old me and my old life has got to go. I can't do that anymore. And like I went after it wholeheartedly, and I came into a relationship with Jesus Christ and went to church. I journaled every single day in my prison incarceration. I went to 12-step meetings, and I went out of my way to help other people. I ended up getting a job in prison where I traveled around the state with a group of people, and we shared our story as a crime prevention team. And like it was just so fulfilling, trying to take my experiences, the things I had done that were so bad, and turn it into at least a learning experience for someone else. And when I got out of prison, I just everything that I had in my head that I was going to do, I did it. Like I have a list actually of things I wrote down like while I was in prison. Like I'm going to do these things, and I've checked off like every single one of them except for get LASIK surgery for my eyes. I haven't done that yet, and I don't think I want to. But like I wanted to get my son back, and I did. I wanted to get a good job, and I now work in the addiction and recovery field. I'm a peer support specialist. I wanted to make amends, like apologize to the people that I had hurt. I've apologized to every person that I've hurt, I think, knowingly. And like even my victim of my crime, I ended up paying him back the money that we stole from him that night. I wanted to be an inspiration and a hope for people. And like I get to do that. I get invited to speak places, and I speak and I share my story. And now I've got this beautiful TikTok, and I get to share my story with you guys. So yeah, like my whole life just kind of flipped. And now instead of thinking about like drugs and alcohol, I just try to think about ways that I can help people who, if they're stuck the way that I was. Like I was so stuck. I was in this cycle of like I really wanted to quit, but I couldn't. I didn't know how. I didn't know how to step away from it. Like I just couldn't. And like that's such a crappy place to be. Like when you know there's something you should be doing, but you're not doing it and you don't want to do it anymore. It's so hard. So I want to help people if they're in that place. So yeah, that's my story.